34.7 seconds left. Syracuse hanging on for dear life. Timeout, Orange, they need it.
While hanging on by a thread, the Orange dug deep and found a way to get their fourth straight victory of 2025.
And that does it. Syracuse barely escapes Monmouth 78-73 inside the Dome. The final, SU, 4 straight wins to open the season for the first time since 2017. Next up, a trip to Vegas.
The Cuse have now started 4-0 for the first time since 2017. SU looks to use that momentum again against second-ranked Houston this Monday in the Players Era Men's Championship out in Las Vegas. Okay, those are your full game highlights. Now it's time for your WAER Player of the Game. Couple options here. Donnie Freeman led the team in scoring with 18, but 12 of those came from the free throw line. Then you've got Nate Kings, who pretty impressive game from him, probably his best one in an orange uniform. 15 points on 6 of 12 shooting with 3 triples, but I think I'm going to have to go with Nate George here. 12 points on 4 of 7 shooting, a pair of trifectas, not to mention 6 rebounds, 9 assists on the game, and only 1 turnover as SU's true point guard. I mean, that is just a stat line of beauty. Plus, second on the Orange in minutes in this game. He was impacting the floor everywhere he went. So that is why Nate George is your WAER Player of the Game. All right, wrapping up shop on Orange Overtime here just before we take it to the double overtime with Dan Shalom and Drew Albaugh. Our next broadcast for basketball is once again Monday, November 24th, Syracuse versus second-ranked Houston. That game's at 6 o'clock, countdown to tip-off at 5:30. And then our next football broadcast is this upcoming Saturday, Syracuse versus number 9 Notre Dame. Games at 3:30, countdown to kickoff at 3 o'clock. A couple thank yous to hand out before we send you to the double overtime. To our producer, Jish Sokolsky, our engineer, Sam Reese, and on radio replay, Nick King, along with the entirety of WAER Sports Desk. It's been a late night, but oh, has it been a fun one in the WAER studios. All right, that just about does it for me. Over to Drew and Dan. Guys, a pretty intimidating contest for Syracuse heading into its games in Vegas. Just a 5-point win over Monmouth.
Thanks so much, John. You say it's a late night. Well, it's going another hour and a half on the double overtime. Dan, a close one. Syracuse sneaks away with a 5-point win.
Party's not over yet, Drew. We got you for another 90 minutes, but this game was way too close for Syracuse. You can't be in a 1-point ball game to Monmouth ahead of the trip to the Players Tournament to play number 2 Houston. Unacceptable, in my opinion.
The Cuse shooting 58% from the charity stripe. It says charity in the name for a reason. Unacceptable, but Syracuse does improve to 4-0 for the first time since 2017. All right, the double overtime goes until 1 a.m. We still got Sydney Chan in a half hour or so. We'll get her on. She was at the Dome. Double overtime starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Carlos kicks out. Freeman contested the 3. It doesn't matter. It swirls home. The horn sounds, and Donnie Freeman sends this team into the locker room jumping for joy.
Starling from the right wing gets down the lane. His righty layup goes, and the Orange lead.
Calling all the way for it. Wants it on Suarez. Spins back to his right. Baby hook. Up. And it goes. And one. Eddie Lampkin rocks the baby around the three-point line.
And the lows.
100 matchups between Georgetown and Syracuse. A long 95-year history. The rivalry is alive and well, and today the victors is Georgetown.
Low slices through the defense. Behind the back pass. Corhen sticks it up and in. A little razzle-dazzle from Jalen Lowe to Cam Corhen. And that one may be the dagger.
And thus ends the second season under Adrian Autry. And it finishes in the second round of the ACC tournament in 2025.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
But it just makes you wonder what is going on in practice, because each time that Adrian Autry takes the podium, it's a lot of We're working on it.
We're getting better.
We're working on it.
We're
We're
getting
getting better.
better.
We're getting better. Well, sure. Maybe in theory they're getting
They
better.
are, but
This is a fan base that needs you to be good now.
Say this about Syracuse basketball is crazy because the brand of Syracuse basketball that I grew up knowing is so far distant from where this team is at now. But I mean, we could be talking about Syracuse at the bottom of the ACC.
I don't think this
without-
team makes the ACC tournament at this rate.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Double overtime. Drew Alba alongside Dan Shalom until 1 a.m. Syracuse takes down Monmouth 78-73, a squeaker, just a 5-point win. My goodness, I'm amped up, ready to go. It may be late, but boy, if you want to call in, Dan and myself would love to talk to you. Talk some hoops, a close one. 315-443-2011. Once again, the number to call, 315-443-2011. You can also interact on Twitter at WAER Sports Talk and on YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. You can watch the live stream on both of those platforms as well. Leave a comment down below if you're scared to hear your voice on the air. Dan, Syracuse, a 5-point win. I already see you shaking your head, and for a good reason. My goodness, this was too close for comfort.
Everything felt so comfortable through the first 3 games. Syracuse had the best scoring defense in the country. First time since 1949 you don't let up more than 50 points to your first 3 opponents. Welcome back. We're back to real Syracuse basketball.
Down to earth.
Come back to reality. And I don't want to say that this is what's going to happen going forward, but it's definitely somewhat of a red flag going forward. I mean, Syracuse just kind of let this game go down the stretch. It seemed like they were in control. You're up by 10, 12, 15 at times in that second half. And then it all just came crashing down, and really from the free throw line was the big issue for Syracuse down the stretch. J.J. Starling had his struggles as well, but Drew, overall, way too close for comfort. This is not a good sign for Syracuse heading into that Players Era tournament.
It's the free throw line. It's meant to be easy.
It's a wide. No one's guarding you. I don't have my hand in your face.
Right.
Put it in the hoop.
And Syracuse finishes 19 for 33 from the line. That's just over 57% for a free throw. That's not where you want to be. And down the stretch, it was at its worst. In the Dome with the fans, you know, how many there were there, we'll ask Sydney Chan, our reporter, later on. But making some noise in a close game for the first time this season. And even J.J. Starling, who's been in these games, did not come to play. Dan, he airballed a free throw with a minute and a half left.
He missed 3 free throws with 2.5 minutes
and
left
one was
to go.
an air. I genuinely think I could close my eyes and hit the rim 100 times out of 100 on a free throw.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know if I feel that confident, but I could certainly
Are you kidding
at
me?
least make one of those 3. I feel good about that.
My goodness. And it wasn't just J.J. Starling either. Saphir missed both free throws down the stretch.
I mean, it kind of begs you the question, should Kyan Anthony be in this role? And that leads us to the callers for the first time tonight. Elvis from Tug Hill wants to talk about how Kyan Anthony was being used. Elvis, what do you got for us?
Hey, fellas, long-time listener, first-time calling in here. I just thought Kyan Anthony shows a lot of promise. He's he's exciting, he's got a lot of confidence. But, there's some things I think he could improve on. First off, I think we need to rein in the energy a little bit. I think he got a little bit of the jitters at the line, just like the rest of the team. And then, there are a couple plays. He thinks he can beat off every guy he meets in the paint. I think he's got to have a little more tact.
I think that's fair, but I mean, you talk about free throws. What about J.J. Starling missing these free throws down the stretch? Nearly allowed the Hawks to win the game.
Well, listen here, partner. I'm talking about you hitting free throws. I'd like to see you hit as many.
Well,
okay?
Hey, we're not talking about me here. We're talking about JJ and Kyan. And if you were to ask me right now, I would have wanted Kyan there. And you're talking about Kyan missing shots. JJ's doing the exact same thing.
I'll give you credit there. But hey, listen, I like his energy. I think he deserves more playing time. I would love to see him in that starting lineup at some point down the stretch, but I think Coach Red is doing the right thing.
I agree.
He's letting him ease into the role. He's a young, excitable boy right now. We need to let him come into the role naturally.
Yeah, thanks so much, Elvis. Appreciate the call. Kyan, 7 points, 2 for 9 from the field. He was 1 for 7 at half, slows it down a little bit. I'm with Elvis, but this is not.
I'm not with Elvis.
Not the storyline of the game. I think Kyan needs to be introduced more slowly, and that's kind of what Adrian Autry did today.
Drew, the question is, though, would you rather add Kyan or JJ down the stretch in that final 3 minutes?
I understand. Kyan wasn't 2 for 5 from the line today, so I don't know if your argument is you're picking between a sour apple and a rotting apple.
We've seen Kyan Anthony in that starting role now. We've seen JJ come back. JJ did not look sharp tonight.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
He did not look good.
No, not at all. But you have to, in context, right? You haven't played in over a week. I get it's against Monmouth. I don't know. JJ played bad, yes, but down the stretch, it was. I don't come away from this game thinking, my goodness, it's the JJ Starling meltdown. It's the Syracuse meltdown. It was on all fronts. And credit to Monmouth, they hit their shots down the stretch. I mean, this is a Monmouth team that really made it rain from downtown. Specifically, one guy from Monmouth absolutely killed it for the Hawks. He had 25 points. It's Justin Ray. He had all of their 3-point shots in the second half, and he was electric from downtown. This is a point guard that looked better than almost every Syracuse player, Dan.
He had the game-high 25 points. You can give all the credit you want to Ray, but it still goes back to the fact that Syracuse should not have allowed him to get this many points. You look at the defense through the first 3 games for Syracuse, they shut down Drexel's Eli Beard, who's a similar player to Ray, held him to 11 points. Why does Ray have 25 points in this game? It makes absolutely no sense. It goes back to one thing for me, Drew. The 3-point defense in this game was atrocious for Syracuse. But, again, I just think if you play a tighter game down the stretch, JJ actually shows up for this team in the clutch moments, which, again, he has plenty. This could just be one-off game. I'm not saying take J.J. Starling out of the starting lineup. I think Kyan is a good role on the bench, but we've seen him thrive in that starter role so far. I think that Syracuse just needed to clean this up. This is certainly not what they wanted heading into that Vegas trip. But, hey, first time this season we're really seeing them get into trouble. We'll see how they respond to some adversity.
What went wrong for Syracuse in a narrow 78-73 win over Monmouth? Feel free to call us in at 315-443-2011. The double overtime until 1 a.m. It's a late one, but Dan Shalom, my goodness, and myself, Drew Alba. It's late for me too. You know, we're working through the bumps in the road here. We're on till 1 a.m., so feel free to call. As it seems like, right on cue, we do have a caller.
You've spoken into existence. Drew.
There we go. Tyler from Syracuse wants to talk some JJ. Tyler, what do we got?
Guys, thanks for having me on. First, I want to point out that Dan's observation, I think, on this entire game is exactly where I stand. Not the exact performance I'd want to have going into Vegas. I think all the building blocks of a successful year are there. The JJ thing is interesting. Look, his free throws have never been good. They weren't good today.
But Tyler, it looked horrible. Defense. It looked really bad. Worse than normal.
Really bad. And his 3-point defense has never been good. Mm-hmm. So I don't really care who starts. JJ can start. Syracuse has never been a team that, like, the starters are who finish the game. I just don't know down the stretch if he can be in the finishing lineup for this team. There's too many talented guards. I want Nate George controlling the ball, and I don't want JJ playing off the ball, and I don't want him playing defense. So I don't really know where to put him in the closing lineup.
I know. Do you have Kyan in there? Do you have Kyan in there down the stretch over JJ or someone else?
It might feel a little premature. I'd rather be early on this than late on this. Yeah, I want him in there. I want Kyan in there.
I totally agree with you. I know Drew doesn't agree with me, but I am 100% with you. And I think, honestly, you can even flex him into the starter role. I mean, he looked way more off and not himself tonight compared to those last 2 starts, in my opinion.
So, Tyler, really quick, before you go, do you think that J.J. Starling was the main contributor in why this was a 5-point game?
No, I think that feels a little unfair. I think William Kyle
so we agree there.
Had a few really dumb decisions, but I also think Syracuse is a program that has lived and thrived off of dumb centers. You think about Pascal Chukwu back in the day. Daewon Coleman wasn't always the sharpest tool in the shed. I think Syracuse can survive with those plays inside. So William Kyle had a role. JJ had a role. I think overall the defense wasn't great. I don't know why some of these guys are getting minutes. Bryce Zafir, what is he in at the end of this game for?
Yeah.
So it's unfair to fully put it on JJ, but he's the guy that I have the most long-term issues with, and it's because there's high expectations. Like, he's a good player. I don't think he's bad. There's a role for him on this team. He's the guy that, because my expectations are so high, I'm disappointed in what I've seen from him. I know he's working through an injury. He had a upper body injury at Notre Dame that messed up his jump shot. In high school in Baldwinsville, New York, he was a good shooter. He hasn't been that in all of college.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the injury stuff with him is going away, and it's unfortunate, but it's going to impact his playing time on the team this year.
Totally agree with you, Tyler. A very level-headed response. Thanks so much for calling in. J.J. Starling, one of the main contributors for Tyler, for Dan, maybe not for myself, as Syracuse barely squeaks by Monmouth, 78-73. The first real close game for Syracuse before taking on a top 2 Houston squad next week in Las Vegas. If you want to call us in, what was the big reason why this Syracuse game was so tight? Call us in at 315-443-2011. You can also interact at WAER Sports Talk on Twitter. Drew Alba alongside Dan Shalom until 1 a.m. It's a late one, but Dan, we got a lot to talk about. We've mentioned J.J. Starling. We've mentioned Kai and Anthony.
JJ,
okay,
no,
go ahead.
I don't know about you, Drew, but for me, the way that JJ was shooting those free throws down the stretch, the form of his shot looked wonky. That did not look like
you don't airball a
JJ
free throw
Starling.
without having a little wonk in your shot.
It looked weird. It did not look normal, and maybe that's him just still coming back from that injury. Maybe it is still affecting him, like Tyler is saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's a real problem, it's early enough in the season where, in my opinion, you can suffer a couple of these losses. I want him to be healthy for conference play. Don't just start forcing him out there here in the Players Era tournament if he's not 100%.
J.J. Starling down the stretch, not good at all. But we got David from Syracuse in the car coming back from the game. You were there, David. What do you think was the main reason why Syracuse sneaks out a close one?
The main reason Syracuse lost is because our three-point defense in the first and second half was not that great against number 1 and 15. They were shooting all the threes. On top of that, free throw shooting was abysmal. We couldn't make our free throws. J.J. Starling is a liability for us, and I do not want him out there in a big game. In a big game, if it's close, he's not out there. Or if he is, you don't give him the ball. Absolutely not. His form, the way he was shooting the free throws, is something's wrong with his wrist.
That's what we were just talking about. So I want David quickly. Are you saying that should be then Kai and Anthony in his spot?
Well, if he's out there, no one better passing the ball. And yes, I would say yes. Put someone else in there. Someone else who will make them. Whoever has that day. I mean, free throw shooting in general, they need to clean up because that's going to cost them in games. So in general, they all need to do it. Can they spend a whole practice session just doing free throws? The whole team in general.
I don't disagree with you. And since you were there, how about the atmosphere inside of the Dome? Was it tense down the stretch? A lot of people. I know a 9 p.m. game was interesting. We haven't seen something like this before, really, in recent years for Syracuse.
It was really kind of empty there. Not many people. I'm not a big fan of the 9 o'clock games because I got to go to work in the morning, and I don't like to call in, so I do got to go to work. But, yeah, I mean, I think part of it was because of the 9 o'clock games. I mean, I'm not going to say Syracuse is a bad team because of it. I'm not going to go off that handle, but they still need stuff. They still have a lot to work on. I still think they can do pretty good and beat the good teams. I think they can beat Kansas. But like I said, they got to.
I don't know about Kansas, to be honest with you. I personally don't think that this team is going to win a game in Vegas. But
that's a little harsh, man. That's a little harsh. David, you got them winning a game?
At least one game. I think they can beat Kansas and maybe the third team.
Okay.
I mean, Houston will be a roll of the dice. I mean, if they play like they did the other
David, I don't know if Houston's a roll of a dice at this point.
So
I think the dice might be an 100-sided dice, and Syracuse has got one of those sides right now. David, thanks so much for calling in. If you want to call in after Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73, call us in at 315-443-2011. J.J. Starling, an unpopular figure in this one, but it was not just JJ. And
It wasn't.
David mentions the 3-point defense, and I want to touch on that a little bit because that was the main difference for me. Monmouth, my goodness, they shot the 3-point ball, really, when you boil down everything, one of the main reasons why they were still in this game, shot 9 for 24, just 4 for 11 in the second half, but still the Hawks put up over 20 or 27 points from the 3-ball. That was a big reason why, in Syracuse on the other end, the 3-ball not going their way.
I mean, Drew, this was the first time that we've seen Syracuse's 3-point defense get truly exposed. Throughout the first 3 games, they'd only let up 8 triples. 8, and tonight they let up 9 to a Monmouth team that was scoring 59 points a game over their last 2 against LaSalle and Seton Hall.
Brutal.
I mean, that's inexcusable.
Inexcusable.
And you're going to play number 2 Houston?
Totally
you
agree.
Think that's going to change it all?
Yeah, and flip-flop from defense to the offense. Syracuse takes on Houston, widely regarded as the best defense in the nation. And we got Darius from Syracuse on the line wanting to talk about said offense. Darius, what do you got for us?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing great. You called into the show before, Darius?
It's been a little bit, but I was wanting to talk about the offense. I was thinking a coach needs to clean up the offense. I don't know that the discipline was there today with this late game. The missed free throws, the turnovers, and a lot of the dribbling down the court, not passing it. I think when you have a sleepy coach, a sleepy team, and the team, it just did not react well today to the leadership, and it gets me thinking that we might need a new name at the helm if we don't make the tournament this year.
I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
At all.
I don't think that's crazy to say at all. I think it's somewhat widely considered that Adrian Autry might be on his way out if Syracuse doesn't make the tournament. The one thing I want to get to you with is you talk about this team coming out sleepy. You think that's a result of the 9 p.m. start? Personally, for me, I just think that this was a matter of time. Syracuse plays 4 non-conference games. They're not going to win all of them by 20 points. I think this was just maybe a goose egg.
I don't know about that. I think when you look at the quality of opponent, I just refuse to believe it's a goose egg. I have sources in the program telling me that guys were sleeping in till 3 or 4.
Who you got telling you that they're sleeping in?
Sorry, what was that?
I said who you guys your sources telling you guys are sleeping until 4?
Well, I was talking to my uncle's brother's cousin. He was telling me that guys were sleeping in. Did you see the Monday night game where CeeDee Lamb was at the casino? That's what this is. Guys were not ready to play. We need a change at leadership, and I think the only guy that can go in and recruit with mothers is Carmelo Anthony. We need to bring in a name, a reputable coach, and my last point's going to be the refereeing. The refs were calling some ticky-tack fouls, and that's because our coach could not work the refs on our home floor against a D2 school. We need someone that can work the refs, someone that brings in discipline, someone that brings in respect, and I think Carmelo Anthony's the guy.
Wow.
Hot takes.
Stuff from Darius.
And I
Bringing
like
in the heat. Thanks so much for calling in, Darius. You got your uncle brother's cousin as a source, and
who's sleeping until 4, Drew? I want to know about that.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, maybe you and I, but hopefully none of the Syracuse basketball players.
There we go.
I think an interesting thing that
Carmelo Anthony, the next
did bring
coach.
up Carmelo
That's
Anthony.
the most interesting part.
That's probably not going to happen. Let's be real here.
Sure.
But I think the refereeing is something that we really haven't gotten to in this game at all. The whistle was just being blown on every single drive down the lane, and it wasn't like it was one-sided. The referees were calling every single play, no matter who had the ball.
Almost or over 40 fouls combined. It was really on both sides, and free throws for both teams also didn't get it done. The referees could not keep the whistle in their mouth. Was that a big difference maker in this ball game? I think so. If you do at home, call in at 315-443-2011. Drew Alba alongside Dan Chalem until 1 a.m. on the double overtime. Syracuse beats Monmouth by 5 points, 78-73. A tight one. You mentioned the refereeing, Dan. And if a whistle-heavy refereeing squad does not play to Syracuse's benefit if they continue to go 57% from the free throw line.
Not a recipe for success.
Not at all.
Whatsoever. I think a lot of these calls were soft, Drew. We saw on both sides of the ball, players weren't even making contact on the way up when they were defending, and somehow the whistle was still getting blown every single time. I think that just hurts the entire game as a whole. Didn't really let Syracuse get into a flow. I think that's what hurt them down the stretch. And that little spit spat too with Autry and the refs. That was interesting too.
There we go. Yeah, I almost feel like it's like you're riding a bike, right?
Okay. Okay, I'm riding the bike.
Riding a bike, you get in a flow, you start to get going.
Yeah, totally.
But if you have to stop every little bit for a red light or a stop sign or what have you, riding a bike isn't even that beneficial anymore. I felt like that was with Syracuse and the refs. Every time you got a little bit momentum, it's a foul there. Sometimes it was against Monmouth, but then you go 1 for 2 from the line, 0 for 2, momentum breaks. The referees couldn't keep their whistle in their mouth. A lot of it was soft, but a lot of it also, Syracuse over-aggressive defensively, really decided to try and deny the three-point ball down the stretch. Didn't really work, so then the Syracuse defense collapsed to the outside. Monmouth drove in, lots of ticky-tack fouls. Syracuse can't have that against a Houston team who might be the most disciplined team in the entire country, Dan.
Yeah, without a doubt. They are disciplined, they are accountable, they are relentless and tough to use dart. They are going to give Syracuse a run for its money, but right now we got Drew on the line. Double Drew
Here we
from
go.
New Hartford who wants to talk about the state of the team. Drew, what do you got?
I'm just listening to some of these callers, guys, and I want to know what brand or flavor of Kool-Aid they're drinking. Is it grape? It must be orange because did we watch the same game tonight? This team stinks. This team is not good. It's the third year of Adrian Autry. They just struggled to beat a team that got blown out by LaSalle. What are we talking about here?
I'm with you on this. However, I think it's different.
Are you? I mean, you guys are talking about them going to Vegas and winning a game there?
No. I said that they are going to lose all the games. They're going to lose all the games in Vegas, and I think this is similar.
I believe it was David from Syracuse that thought
Drew,
that.
you said that they would win a game.
Potentially a game, yeah. No chance against Kansas.
Against who?
They're not winning a game.
In that 9th, 10th matchup in Game 3. Okay, listen. I understand.
Are Canisius and Siena going to be out in Vegas? I mean, they're not playing those teams.
I understand.
Autry's
Drew, really quickly.
She sure hope so.
I understand the reaction to this Game 4, but does the first 3 games not have any weight in your mind?
They played bums. They played teams that were picked to finish at or near the bottom of their conference in small one-bid leagues.
So do you think this team is better than last year's squad?
Is that a good thing?
No.
Anything has to be better than last year, right, Drew?
They barely made the ACC tournament. Who cares?
Yeah.
If they're better than last year's team.
So you think Coach Red's gone?
He should be. Guys, seriously, let's have a heart-to-heart here. We watched this game tonight. It looked a lot like the games the last couple of years in November and December.
Agreed.
What's the ceiling for this team? They finish in the middle of the ACC.
I would say the ceiling's 20
have to beg
wins.
for an NCAA tournament bid that's not going to come to a league that's like the 4th best league in America when the SEC and Big 12 are going to Big 10 and Big 12 are going to get 40 teams in the tournament. Come on now. What are we doing here? They stink. It pains me to say it, but this is a bad football team.
Yeah. There's really not much I can argue with right now, Drew. I feel your pain.
I agree with you, Drew.
This is a tough watch today. A 5-point win for Syracuse. Drew, thanks so much.
Guys, it's not a tough watch today. I disagree with that.
You don't think
the first
games
that's
on the 5th year without making the NCAA tournament? That's unacceptable.
Yeah, but we're talking about this season, Drew, and I would say the first 3 games were definitely not a tough watch.
But consider who they played against.
I got you.
Look at how they played against those 3 same opponents last year.
Okay, so they've improved in incremental steps where instead of barely beating the Colgates of the world
I know that,
but because they beat Delaware State by 30.
The fact
Congratulations.
that it is
Way to go, Red. Let's give them a contract extension now.
No
one's saying that. Absolutely nobody is saying that.
Yeah. Drew, I love the fire. Thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. And a lot of what you said is really, really hard to agree with. And more importantly, I think the majority of this Cuse faithful agree with you at this point. I totally understand your sentiment. A 5-point win over Monmouth for Syracuse, who perennially
Drew,
is
they
looked
should be
at
blowing
one.
these teams
Totally
out
agree.
of the gym.
Perennially looked at as one of the best college basketball teams, not in the ACC, not in the Northeast, in the entire country. And this
10 years ago.
Is not good enough. Yes, but that's still the standard. It should be.
No, that is not the
What?
standard. I have to go back on you.
You don't
there.
think Drew from New Hartford thinks that the standard for this team should be
Standard
March?
is that, but the standard at this point is not that.
It should be that. I'm not.
The standard for this team is making the ACC tournament. That's
no,
where we're at.
That's not the. That's what your prediction is. The standard.
No, look at last
the
year.
Standard.
They barely made it to the ACC tournament.
Oh,
They
come
sucked.
on. Oh, come on.
They were awful.
No.
And they just showed again that they can be awful again this year.
No, Dan, the standard for this team should be.
The standard should be a national championship.
It is that.
No, it is not.
That is
Adrian Autry has not done that whatsoever.
That's not what Adrian Autry has done. But the standard and what you actually get to are two completely different things.
Well, if they should be hitting the standard, and they've come up way short every single year under Red, and it's certainly seeming like they're going down that path again. You can bring whoever you want, and it's the same story year after year after year.
Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73. Call us in at 315-443-2011. And we got yet another caller on the line. Michael from Manlius wants to talk about how this was a trap game. Trap game or not. Michael, what do you think about this 5-point win for Syracuse?
I think it was a game that honestly showed a lot of heart, and I think our fans should reevaluate this game. This was more than a trap game. This was an ambush game.
It's
this team came to play.
This is a CAA team that Syracuse was up by 1 point
They had
to.
a fire in their eyes.
Michael, I agree that if you want to call it a trap game, 9 p.m. Tuesday,
this is a non-conference
Houston
game
next week.
I
get it. I get
the
it.
third week of November.
Trap game or not, Michael, how can you defend a 5-point win?
Because this is a calm your heart down game. These guys are nervous. Kyan's a freshman. You know,
Donnie
JJ's
Freeman
got some shooting
and
issues.
JJ
We got a lot
Starling
of
should
things
not
to
be
work on this
nervous
team, and
playing
this is a
Monmouth.
game that got it under the belt. We got the win. That's all that matters, guys.
No, that is completely the wrong mentality
It's
here.
all that matters, guys.
That is not all that matters. Michael, I mean, they were up by 1 point. What do you think is going to happen against Houston?
Would you rather have them lose?
No,
I mean,
obviously
no.
not. But I would rather have them win by
understand your
40.
perspective here.
They
These
should.
fans that keep saying that SU stinks, those are not fans, okay?
they
This
should
is
have-
a game that we won.
They should have won by 40. Thanks,
okay,
Michael. I
yeah.
heard you hang up the phone, probably because you weren't very happy with me, which is totally fair.
come on. I think
his original claim. This is not a trap game, Drew.
I think it's a trap game. Not a trap game. They should be a 5-point game. This
Drew,
is the
it's
definition.
Monmouth.
Well, yeah, that's what a trap game is against a bad team.
A trap
You
game.
can't have trap games against good teams. That's just
you can.
No, you can't, because that's the definition of a trap game. You can't be a trap if it's a
Maybe
good
a
team.
middle bottom of the ACC team is a trap game for you, and like the middle of
No.
January.
This is a
But
trap
just
game.
like last year, Lemoyne should not be a trap game.
It's not an
Monmouth should not be a
excuse.
trap
It's-
game.
I'm not-
Colgate should not be a trap game either.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying definitionally, this is a trap game.
No,
9 p.m. Tuesday.
It's
Houston.
Monmouth. Oh
Houston's
my gosh.
next week. I
It's
know that's what a
Monmouth.
trap
Look
game
at what
is.
they did the last 3 games.
I got Dan.
This is a team that was averaging 59 points and lost to LaSalle and
right.
Seton Hall.
Michael.
They have no quality wins. They're garbage.
Michael thinks it's a trap game. Drew from New Hartford thinks this team is going to not win 10 games, maybe, from his
And you
perspective.
think this is a trap game.
And
right?
I think this is a trap game. Syracuse should win by double digits. But what do you think at home? Dan and I aren't agreeing, so someone's got to come in and settle the beef. Call us in at 315-443-2011. Syracuse takes down Monmouth 78-73, double overtime until 1 a.m. And we got another caller on the line. Keep it flowing in, everybody. Lester from Liverpool wants to talk about how everyone is overreacting a little bit to this game. So, Lester, ease my nerves. What do you got?
Yeah, fellas, I'm going to settle the beef right now. And I just want to say thank you for putting me on. I've been trying to call in for the last 20 minutes. And all I've had to do is sit here and listen to all these people complain. But then, you know, that last guy, I mean, I think he's really oversimplifying the situation here as well. Look, it wasn't pretty. We saw some cracks in this team. there are certainly things to work on, but it is one game in a very long season. We can't blow out every single opponent. Is it worrisome? Yeah. But everybody acting like one game is going to define this team and the season is over. I mean, quite frankly, that is ridiculous. There's some positives to take away from tonight. They shot the three well, decently. They shot nearly 50% from the floor. The rebounding looked a little bit better. But yeah, down the
I don't know about that.
I don't think they shot the three
they
very
didn't shoot
well.
free throws. We can work on this.
I don't know if we can. I mean, I know we've been overreacting, and I get it. But I feel like we've had this same conversation every year where there's the non-conference game that Syracuse ekes out under Red Autry, and then everything just falls downhill.
But just last week we were talking about how through 3 games they're winning these games by bigger margins, and they look better than last year. So I'm not saying they're a great team. I don't know if they're tournament bound, but one game, that's ridiculous. I mean, this is like crowning J.J. McCarthy NFC Player of the Week after they beat the Bears, and look, he stunk it up the last 3.
Yeah. Hey, Lester, I have a question for you. What was your opinion on the Lemoyne game last year, right after the fact?
Oh, I mean, sell the program.
Okay, so
how is it different this time around?
I'm curious, why did your sentiment, or why is your sentiment changed for a close Monmouth victory versus a close Lemoyne victory?
Because the difference is the last couple of seasons there have been no signs of life from the very start. We now have better recruits coming in with Sadiq White and Kyan Anthony. We have some promising transfers, and they have looked better through the first 3 games. So, look, I'm not saying this is a great team, but you have to admit they do look a little bit better. And if they go out the next time that they have a mediocre or mid-range opponent and they stink it up, fine.
Okay.
But after one loss, not even a loss, one defeated. But after one tough game where we're heading into Vegas, let's not jump to conclusions here.
Lester, I think that's the best thing that you and maybe any of our callers have said, although we've had a lot of good callers today. I think you're right. I think that there is a middle ground that everyone has to try and find. Because you're right, the first 3 games, Syracuse looked unstoppable. And then, of course, this is a close game against Monmouth. Thanks so much for calling in, Lester. Really appreciate it. I think that is, if you go from sell the team, get Adrian Autry out of here, to we're going to be totally fine, Syracuse is March Madness bound, I think that's the center point where you have to balance. Yes, this is not good. Sound the alarms. But also,
I would sound the alarm. It's improvement, though. You can't deny the fact that the first 3 games this year are better than last year. That's a fact.
Totally agree with you.
You can't deny that one. However, this is very concerning, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it should be in everyone's opinion. I don't think that should be a debate, but is it time to say this whole season is for naught? Is it time to say Syracuse has no chance at making... What was your thoughts on Syracuse's chances at making March Madness 3 hours ago, Dan?
Coming into this game?
Sure.
I think that they'd be on the bubble.
Okay, and that completely changes for you?
I still think they're probably on that bubble, but towards the lower end of the spectrum.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair for everyone kind of in their head to realize maybe this team isn't as good as we thought, but still with the upside
I really
that
think
this team
people
can
are
figure
just
it
getting
out.
scared that it's just going to be a repeat of the past 2 years. You have the close non-con, and then you're just going to get blown out in these tournaments.
And that's the fact. I was about to mention it. You have this. This needed to be a big win because Syracuse most likely going to drop 2 or 3 games in Vegas. All of a sudden, you look at a 4-3 schedule with a 5-point win over Monmouth. What's the reaction of the fan base in a week from today?
If that happens, I think that all the negative things we're going to be saying are going to be at the top of all the headlines.
Totally agree. My goodness, this was a real fun last hour of radio. Hopefully we keep it up down the stretch, but you guys at home really made it fun. Thanks so much for calling in. You got a chance to call in, but we're going to take a quick break. Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73. Drew Alba alongside Dan Shalom live till 1 a.m. We got a lot ahead on the double overtime.
If you know her, you You know that she would have wanted you to turn the other cheek, to find forgiveness, to extend understanding. You know this, but what if you just can't? On the next Snap Judgment, Jen Angel. Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
There is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you know her, you know that she would have wanted you to turn the other cheek, to find forgiveness, to extend understanding. You know this, but what if you just can't? On the next Snap Judgment, Jen Angel. Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
Back here on the double overtime, Dan Chalm with you alongside Drew Alba, breaking down everything from Syracuse men's basketball. 78-73 win over Monmouth, a tight one. If you want to get your voice heard here on the show, let us know what you thought of the game. Call in 315-443-2011 or interact with us at WAER Sports Talk, both on YouTube and Twitter. Drew, we had a lot of calls over that last segment.
Rightfully so.
And we want to hear more, so please call in, keep getting your voice heard. But I think the biggest thing that we took away from that was that, hey, this is a red flag, but there's still some, positive signs going forward in the future. One thing that Syracuse needs to address, and address badly, though, is the three-point defense. That was really a struggle all game long for the Orange. 8 3-pointers allowed the entire season, and then 9 tonight.
The thing that stuck out to me about that, and I'm a big X's and O's guy, Dan, so let me get into the weeds real quick. In a game where Syracuse wins by 5, and there's a lot of other things on people's minds, but Syracuse, and specifically on screens, are switching every screen, not fighting over them. And there's drawbacks and there's benefits of this. The benefit is it's easier to play defense inside the paint. You can shade off of guys. The downside is that the three-point ball, and this is why in the NBA it's over every screen because guys can hit the lights out. Mm-hmm. The downside is the threes become wide open when you switch off because the defender has to shade behind the screen, come off the help defense, and then it's an open shot. I think Syracuse needs to make that defensive adjustment, not now, or not yesterday, but right now, moving forward against the Houston team that can hit the three ball with the best of them. And the other thing it does, if you switch onto screens, it's harder to rebound because now all of a sudden you got 6-foot guards guarding 6'8" centers or vice versa. Everything becomes flip-flop. Your ideal matchup is not where you want it to be. So the two things that stuck out to me today, rebounding and three-point defense. Monmouth finishes with just one less rebound than Syracuse. In the first half, the Hawks had more rebounds than the Orange. Three-point shooting for Monmouth really kept them in this ball game. And I think both of those things can get maybe not eliminated, but definitely nipped in the bud if you just try to go over screens. It's small adjustments that I think head coach Adrian Autry has to make now.
Well, we heard Jim Boeheim earlier on Q Sports Talk before this game. He was saying that, hey, the defense is good. They're playing solid man-to-man. We haven't seen man-to-man in Syracuse in 45, 50 years, but he thought that it was good, but that it could get exposed, and we saw it get exposed tonight. Not to say that Syracuse should go back to zone,
sure,
but it definitely shows you that there's holes in this Orange team. And going back to what our callers were saying, and again, if you want to get your voice heard, 315-443-2011, call into us here on the double overtime. It's the fact that this team actually does have holes, Drew. And I mean, people through the first 3 games thought that this Syracuse team is maybe the best defensive team in such a long time. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid.
50 points or fewer in the first 3 games. It's the first time that's happened since 1950. And then the script got flipped. Monmouth with 73 points from the free throw line could have added 5 more to that total as well. It could have been even worse. Not good at all. The man-to-man defense for Syracuse today, and a lot of it was just Monmouth was hitting shots. I get that, but Syracuse's defense has to get better. And give a lot of credit, by the way, to Monmouth head coach King Rice. In his 15th year, he knows what he's doing. And Syracuse, unlike the last few opponents, there was a sizable amount of film that Rice and the rest of this Monmouth team could watch. 3 games worth of film. And Monmouth really broke down the X's and O's.
I mean, Drew, I'm just really confused. How does Justin Ray, a guy who had 6 points and then 4 against Seton Hall,
25
just dropped
today.
25?
It's
Where
hard.
does that come from?
Well,
How does Syracuse let that happen?
Well, the Ware is 9 for 9 from the line and 4 for 7 from 3. So, yes, from the Ware, that's where. How it stops a guy like Ray, because those are the killers, especially in March Madness. It's these guards that just hit shot after
I mean, he was
shot.
just chucking up threes, and somehow they were just finding the hoop.
Yeah, end of the day, when guys are hot, sometimes it's tough to stop. And I don't want to just say throw your hands up and, wow, Ray's the best player of all time. He's not. But today, he had a confidence that really no other player on the court, including Syracuse, had.
Yeah, and the thing is, Syracuse actually knocked Monmouth's leading scorer out of the game. He fouled out.
Yeah.
But Justin Ray was still on the floor and was still giving this team problems. I think that's something that Syracuse really hasn't seen yet this season. We've seen it happen last year plenty. But this defensive team has not been exposed the way it was tonight. And three-point defense has a lot to do with it. And maybe also with fouls. If you know the referees are going to be blowing the whistle just so much, maybe don't make as much contact. I know it sounds easy in theory, but it seemed like Syracuse was just kind of playing into the game.
Ray had just 8 minutes off the bench last year.
Right, and this guy drops
25
on Syracuse, and that goes back to the fact that this is Monmouth, and a guy who had 8 minutes off the bench just dropped 25 on you, the most by any player this season.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a great sign. I would say
I don't know how you could say it's a good sign.
I was really looking forward after Syracuse went up by 14 points. It was a J.J. Starling 3, actually, where we've been talking about how J.J. Starling didn't play great
that,
today.
It went downhill.
Where Syracuse goes up by 14 with about 10 minutes left. It was off of a block. I believe it was George that swung it to Starling. Regardless, from that point on, Monmouth really put the pedal to the metal, and Syracuse couldn't do anything defensively.
Nothing. They had absolutely no answer. Red tried to switch some guys in. You saw Bryce Zephyr get into the game. Luke Fennell came into the game with 30 seconds, didn't play a minute all game long. He comes in down the stretch.
You got to try stuff.
As a defensive replacement. Is Luke Fennell and Bryce Zephyr your answer?
No. I don't know how else to say no. In what other language do you want me to say it in? That's not the answer. The answer is the guys you're playing got to play better. Period. End of story.
Well, we just heard Tyler from Syracuse talking a little while ago how he doesn't trust J.J. Starling's defense. He's never really been a three-point defender. That was once again evident. There's a reason why he got pulled from the game down the stretch.
I'm with you, Dan. This team did not play good enough tonight.
Not at all. Syracuse still, though, undefeated 4-0, first time since the 2017-18 season, takes down Monmouth 78-73. Want to call in and get your voice heard? Dial in 315-443-2011 or interact with us on Twitter and YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. Drew, we talked about the three-point defense, and then on the other side of things, we do have to talk about Monmouth and what they did also in the foul department and at the free throw line. They were playing and buying into this game just as much as Syracuse was. It's not like, oh, Syracuse had this really bad day and we're racking up so many fouls and that's why they lost the game. They had the same exact opportunities because Monmouth was doing the exact same thing.
The referees were playing fair. Now, maybe it was a little too whistle-happy. I'll give you that.
I think it was way too whistle-happy.
Sure, but the whistle-happiness, if you want to call it that, was going both sides. And at the end of the day, Monmouth goes 20 for 25 from the free throw line. That's 80%. Syracuse, 19 for 33, 58% from the line. And if you want to boil down the game to that, that's your difference maker. Let's say Syracuse makes another 8 free throws, which would be a very modest 27 for 33, which should be the expectation in every game. All of a sudden, Syracuse wins by double digits, and we're really not having this conversation.
We're having none of these calls. Everyone's sounding positive, sounding excited, getting into the Vegas tournament. And speaking of this topic, free throw shooting, Dave from Liverpool is on the line. Dave, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I'll talk about free throw shooting in a minute, but, I wanted to verify that Justin Ray scored 4 points and 6 points against Seton Hall and LaSalle, so that's totally ridiculous to score 25 points against Syracuse when you only score 4 or 6 points against Seton Hall and LaSalle.
Totally agree. I mean, I don't know how they let that happen.
Nobody. I mean, how do you explain that except for poor coaching, and another thing, which there's no excuse for the free throw shooting. There's no excuse for that. I tell you, if I was a coach, boy, they would be running sprints or whatever until they would make 8 out of 10 or whatever.
For me personally, I don't necessarily pin this on Adrian Autry. I think it's the free throw shooting, the players simply not making their shots. These guys are Division I players on big scholarships. They should be hitting their free throws.
I think you would get their attention, though, if you made them run sprints.
Okay, Dave, I got a question for you really quick. Let's say, it's, 12-21 here in Syracuse. Let's say I give you the keys to the Dome, and you and your PJs go in, and I give you 10 free throws. You think you're making 6 of them? Because that'd be better than Syracuse.
No, I would probably make 1 or 2 because I haven't shot free throws in 30 years.
All right, appreciate the call, Dave. Yeah, the free throws were not good enough today, and really that's a pretty easy fix, Dan. You gotta.
It should be.
Yeah, I mean,
but Drew, this was a problem last year as
Sure.
well. Really, nobody was reliable to hit a free throw outside of Donnie Freeman for this team last year.
And if Syracuse gets into the big dance, which right now is a major question mark.
Don't even
Major
start
question
with
mark
that right now.
Free throws in games where the margin is so slim, it comes down to the winners and the losers more often than not.
Oh, 100%. And if Syracuse doesn't handle this, it's just going to keep getting exposed more. You think
Like a
Houston's
snowball.
not going to hurt you?
No.
If you miss these amount of free throws against Houston, you're getting blown out by 20.
Yeah, it's real bad. And
Really bad.
I do think Coach Adrian Autry, one of the things, I've watched one Coach Red practice, and I've watched many practices from head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack for Syracuse women's basketball. And the intensity in the gym is black and white. It is completely different. Head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack in Syracuse women's basketball, they're running up and down. They're sprinting, they're yelling, they're high-fiving. Syracuse men's basketball, it's a lot more lax, a lot more chill. That could be good for some players. But at the end of the day, free throws in the second half are taken when guys are tired. And not once, granted, it was just one practice I watched, but not once did I see a guy really do a full sprint and take a free throw afterwards. That's something I did in 6th grade, Dan.
Maybe we should get you on the team. But I think you make a good point there, Drew. If this is not being practiced, and again, we can't say that because we don't actually know. We're not at all the practices. But it seems like over these last 3 years, there's been a common
theme.
disconnect between Adrian Autry and the free throw line.
Totally agree with you. And this is something that has to change right now because going into Las Vegas, if you got any chance at beating Houston or Kansas, not only do you have to be better from the free throw line, you got to be better from the field. Syracuse 50%
That's the
from
even
the
more
field today.
concerning thing.
3-point percentage was actually pretty solid today, goes 7 for 17. The fact that Syracuse shot 41% from 3 and only won by 5, and 41% isn't something crazy, but
That's above average.
That's above average. And you win by 5 points. Let's say Syracuse loses, or rather misses 2 of those threes, go 5 for 17. Syracuse loses this game.
And that's the thing. These numbers are just not going to cut it when you play real teams. And we've been
Not
through
at
this
all.
experiment 2 years in a row now, and we've seen the same thing happen once, twice, third time's a charm, maybe?
I don't know. This team is so confusing. It really is. And I think that so many different callers have had so many different opinions. They've been all over the spectrum. And I think it's hard to put a stake on this team right now because you thought you knew what Syracuse was after 3 games and completely changes
You
your
just
opinion
don't.
after a 4th
You
game.
do not at all. And I think as well, I don't think I would have believed you after tonight if you told me Syracuse had the best scoring defense in the country coming into this
That
game.
is a ridiculous stat. That was not held up
You and
tonight.
I have never seen that in our time at
No.
Syracuse.
No.
And it's been a long time since the Orange have held that mark. And it just feels like we're falling right back into 2020.
You know that whole kills thing that
Kills.
Syracuse was
7
talking
kills
about?
wins you the game.
My goodness. I wonder if they got 5 kills.
Maybe even 2?
Yeah. Apparently they had 3 kills. Shout out Andrew Delapiana, our wonderful engineer on the board. 3 kills is less than half of your quote-unquote 7 kills a game that wins you 90+%. Not good enough.
And it's against Monmouth.
Yeah.
The 59 points a game team. Can't do that. Can't do that whatsoever. And, I mean, Drew, it just feels like kind of I have a pit in my stomach right now with Houston just looming, waiting there. You don't know what's going to happen.
The Cougars are about to pounce.
I'll tell you, some orange is definitely there to be juiced
My
for this
goodness.
team in a couple days' time. The defense needs to clean it up. Monmouth, obviously. But once again, for you at the end of the day, is this just, hey, it's one game, whatever, let's move on, or are we really panicking?
You're giving me an A or B. I think there's a C option in an other response where I'm allowed to write a sentence below.
Okay,
It's
no multiple choice.
Right. It's hey, this is one game, and it was a really, really, really bad sign. You're on a hike and you saw the bear tracks and you didn't turn around to 180. You kept going because Syracuse, a 5-point win over Monmouth, unacceptable. Only word, can the Orange respond? They didn't do it last year. This season could be different. I doubt it's in Las Vegas, but maybe it happens down the stretch because Syracuse looked like a completely different team in the first 3 games of the season.
Well, someone that can help us get a better understanding of how it all went down in the Dome, our reporter Sydney Chan, who was there wire to wire, and it's a late one. Hopefully Sydney has some energy for us on the show, and she's going to join us here in just a second on the Double Overtime.
If you know her, you know that she would have wanted you to turn the other cheek, to find forgiveness, to extend understanding. You know this, but what if you just can't? On the next Snap Judgment, Jen Angel. Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
The Ostrom Avenue Podcast, breaking down Syracuse athletics.
The students rush the field. The Orange are bowl eligible and 6-0 for just the 3rd time in the last 87 years.
And interviewing the industry's experts.
We are now joined by a very special guest. It's Emily Leiker of Syracuse.com.
Check out video interviews on YouTube at Ostrom Avenue Podcast and weekly episodes on WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
NewsHour from the BBC brings you interviews, news and analysis of the day's top global events.
What's going on?
What happens next?
Let's get more on our top story now.
With reporters across the world covering stories when they happen, wherever they happen.
This place is so remote that it's hard to imagine it as the front line of a major geopolitical row.
NewsHour from the BBC.
Weekdays after Morning Edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
COP30, the UN Climate Conference, wraps up this week in Brazil. Political leaders, activists, scientists, and business lobbyists have convened, but not there, the Trump administration. What does the U.S. government's absence mean for the future of COP? And a decade after the Paris Agreement, what is there left to negotiate? The future of global climate policy, next time on 1A.
Weekdays from 10 to noon on 88.3 WAER.
If you know her, you know that she would have wanted you to turn the other cheek, to find forgiveness, to extend understanding. You know this, but what if you just can't? On the next Snap Judgment, Jen Angel. Snap Judgment, do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
Kicks to Anthony. Pump fakes. Drives in. Goes to the rim. Lays it up and one.
Double overtime until 1 a.m. Drew Alba alongside Dan Shalom after Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73, and our reporter Sydney Chan was at the Dome for the closest game of the season for the Orange. Sydney, we've talked a lot about this one. What is your initial thoughts? Because ours have been a lot of sound the alarm, but a lot of callers have even been in more of the other direction.
I've kind of been with them, too.
Honestly, I would say sound the alarm as well, but I think a big storyline from this game was really the reffing. It was kind of all over the place. Fans were shouting, screaming, "Ref, you suck! Ref, what are you doing?" All of these things that definitely added a lot of uproar throughout the game. And when I was talking, tension. And when I was talking with, Nate Kings after the game, he was saying that maybe that all of those free throws, all of those whistles kind of disrupted their rhythm.
Disrupted
their
Can't
moment.
blame the game on the referees. I think that is garbage.
Wait, really quick. You heard from Sydney there. You heard from Dan, who completely disagrees.
I'm not saying that you're saying that, Sydney, but you just can't blame the game on the referees.
Okay, no, I agree.
It's a one-point game with 30 seconds left to go.
Can you blame the referees?
No.
Call us
Because
in.
Monmouth was doing the same thing.
315-443-2011. 315-443-2011. Call us and interact at WAER Sports Talk. Sydney Chan was at the Dome. If you have any questions for her, I'm sure you'd be happy to tell them how it was in the Dome. What was the atmosphere like, Sydney?
Yeah, the atmosphere was kind of crazy. As I mentioned earlier, foul trouble was a huge contention in that first half. And starting off in the second half, nothing really slowed down. We had Sadiq White foul out, and then one of the Monmouth players foul out. And at that point, when you're both in the double bonus, free throws are a huge contention. And Syracuse, once again, just could not make free throws to save its life. It was ugly.
Like game time, how many fans were in there?
I'm not good at judging by
Was the lower bowl filled?
Yeah.
How about the upper?
No. Not really.
Empty?
It wasn't empty, but it was spotty.
Yeah, I would say spotty's. Obviously, we weren't there, but
I mean, do you think that atmosphere contributed to Syracuse playing badly?
I think that down the stretch, for sure, as fans started to get rowdier and rowdier, Syracuse also got sloppier in the paint for sure, and that caused some of the controversial ref fouls that made it a 2-point or a two.
I mean, are you saying that this was on the ref? Are you pinning Syracuse's bad performance on the referees?
I'm not. I'm putting it on the fact that they just weren't in it. It didn't seem like they were very. They couldn't make a free throw, but they felt very complacent from the jump. It kind of felt like Monmouth was ready. Monmouth was aggressive from the jump, and Kine was even saying too, through their walkthrough yesterday, they were kind of just going through the motions. They were kind of complacent, and they weren't really ready for it, which is obviously not the mentality you want, especially when you're about to go to Vegas and play some of the top teams of the country.
If you don't have the right mentality to face Monmouth on a Tuesday night at home in the fourth game of the season, what the heck is going to happen to you in Las Vegas?
I don't think the fans had the right mentality either. I don't think it was good enough for the Cuse faithful. I understand it's 9 p.m., but as I was listening to WAER and, of course, following that WAER Sports Talk account, I was also following our good friend Mike Waters, and he said maybe the best tweet of the night. In addition to the players, there's absolutely no energy in this building. Fans are sitting with arms crossed like they're in a doctor's waiting room.
Atmosphere crazy?
Sydney, what's your response to that?
I would say that later on in the game, the atmosphere did get rowdier, mainly because people were frustrated.
But I
would say that, Coach Red had talked a lot about how he wanted fans to get angry. He wanted them to get excited, especially when kills were happening. And every time
3 kills, by the way.
Only three.
Only 3 kills. That's
but
not
every
win you a
time
game.
it showed up on the video board, no one said anything. It was like nobody really knew anything. They were
so they had graphics on the
They had
big
graphics
board
on the
of
screen,
kills
but people
or
were
kills?
more excited about the fact that they would get like a free chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A.
I get excited about that too, to be fair.
Yeah, but in a 5-point game, chicken sandwich or your team going in a deep
or
run
taco
to March.
time.
Yeah.
That was JJ later on as well.
Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73. Sydney Chan, our reporter in the Dome. Feel free to call us in and ask her any questions or you have, rather. Syracuse wins by just 5 points. The number to call, 315-443-2011. Sydney, you were at the presser. What was the vibe? We mentioned in the Dome. What was the vibe in the press conference afterward? What was head coach Adrian Autry saying?
Yeah, kind of what Dan was saying, that obviously you can't blame things on the refs and that reffing didn't really have an impact on Syracuse's game. He kind of just said that there were a lot of dips and flows in the energy, and that was what was lacking. They weren't coming out with aggression. They didn't have the right mindset, and that's why there were so many dips, and Monmouth was able to claw its way back. He said that Nate Kings was big for them with some threes, but overall there were just a few little lulls that happened that maybe stretched out a little too long that allowed the Hawks to jump back and make it a really
Maybe
close
don't
game.
schedule the game at 9 p.m. And also on top of that, I don't know, I just feel like the atmosphere definitely has something to do with it. You look at these Syracuse games throughout the years, when the crowd is in the game, it is a major difference. That is at least like a 2 or 5 point swing
Loud
right
House.
there.
The
It is the
quote-unquote-
Loud House.
right.
This is the doctor's office now, from Mike Waters
Oh,
of how
goodness.
things are going. I mean,
Do we have to call it the doctor's office until it changes?
doctor's waiting room
might be
is
worse.
now the Dome.
That is worse because it smells like sanitary and it's just like.
So if the doctor's
not the
waiting
vibe.
room is the Dome, then I guess the press conference would be the doctor's office because that's where you get the examination, right? And
I'd say.
was head
but-
coach Adrian Autry, did he allude to what went wrong in particularly? We were talking a lot about the three-point defense. Was there any mention of that?
He was pretty candid about the fact that he thought it was going to be a physical game. They knew it was going to be a physical game, but he didn't really mention too much about the three-point defense. We talked a lot about the free throws instead, about all
what
those
did he
free-
say about that?
I
All
want to
those-
know about
all
this.
those free points. He said that, they're just going to keep shooting them. They're just going
Oh
to keep
my
practicing
gosh.
it. And, I was kind
Same
of
thing
I was
every year.
rolling
That
my
is
eyes. I was
ridiculous.
rolling my eyes
As
because
you should
really,
be. And everyone is listening right now at home.
no one, they could not be making free throws to save their lives. And especially in situations where you're both in double bonus, you have to be making these free throws. They're called free points for a reason.
Totally agree.
And Syracuse just does not like the charity stripe, or maybe they had something else in their head. Maybe they were tired. It was 10:45, but you're gonna
Doesn't matter.
But you're gonna be playing in Vegas next week. You're gonna be exhausted. You better be able.
You could
to
be
beat
playing
your
a
free throws.
game within 12 hours of another game
Right.
in Vegas next
True.
week, theoretically,
No
if you're
excuse.
Syracuse.
Absolutely.
And if Callum Stanford can travel all the way across the
I don't wanna
country
hear it.
for over half the games,
Ridiculous.
Syracuse can roll out of their bed and go 10 minutes to the Dome from South Campus and shoot better
Well,
than
again, remember, Drew, they are waking
57%.
up at 4 p.m.
according
on
to
game
the
day.
brother, cousin's uncle.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, Sydney,
What?
one player that
You missed that
actually-
one, Sydney.
One player that,
We've had many
came,
callers.
that came back in this game was J.J. Starling for
Right,
Syracuse,
right.
finally back. What'd you see from him?
To be honest, I wasn't impressed. I didn't think that he showed up as much as he should have, and I
Did
don't.
he seem sluggish out there, though? Because for me, it seemed like his shooting form was really off. He didn't seem 100%.
I honestly wasn't impressed with him. And when I finally was able to tweet, JJ Starling has finally scored his first point in orange. Yeah, emphasis on the finally. It took a while. I mean, that
Just
first
6 minutes
possession.
left in the first quarter.
Exactly.
First
That
half,
first
yeah.
possession, JJ had it, and he missed his first layup. And I was like, oh no,
Start-
this is going to be interesting. And then as we kept going on, rebounding was not there. He mentioned that. That was going to be the biggest point of emphasis as we go on. And then again, the same theme of free throws not being there. I mean, if you're going to be a guard and you're going to be leading the team and you're going to be getting the ball and you're going to be getting fouled, you better make those
That's
free
why
throws.
Kyan Anthony should be there. Kyan Anthony
I
100%
posted
should be
a
down
poll
there.
at the very beginning of the game, and I would
So
say
for
a
you,
good
is
80%.
it Kyan or JJ
It's
down
Kyan,
the stretch?
for sure. Absolutely.
I'm
it's
not
Kyan.
there all the way. JJ does have just one rebound tonight. Not good. 2 for 5 from the line. But finishes with 11 points, an efficient 4 for 6 from the field.
That's not good enough.
Not
He
good.
was garbage
That's-
in the
It's
final
not good
3
enough.
minutes of the ball game. He made this a 1-point game, Drew.
I could argue 4 for 6 is good enough, and he was not the star player
He
today.
was the reason that this was close.
one of the reasons.
No.
No.
He missed 3 free throws in the final 3 minutes of the game.
Great.
He
the
missed
team,
the free throw.
Emphasis
that
on
ended
the
up
team.
giving Monmouth the ball. That
the-
made it a 1-point game.
The team shot
That's
57.
unacceptable.
The team shot 57%.
Anyways, the point
33
is, Kyan
free
should
throws.
have been in the starting lineup, and I was
No,
happy.
that's where I.
It
that's
should
where I
have
kinda
been, and
put
I was
you.
You're
happy.
arguing
I
Kyan
was
should be
happy
in the starting
when
lineup.
Kyan
JJ
should
was.
be there down the stretch. 100%. He should be getting
So
the clutch.
does
Which he
Kyan
was.
start against Houston? Does Kyan start against Houston?
I say yes. He brings the energy. He brings the mindfulness. I honestly think JJ was a little sluggish out there. He was talking about how he gets on the court, he takes off his shoes, he meditates, he gets in the zone.
Did he
all
say
of those
anything
things.
in the postgame in the locker room?
That's what I
JJ?
talked to him about.
What'd he say?
He said that he was trying to get in the zone. He was trying to get there. He had a lot of fun, like in the warm-ups, dancing with his teammates.
Oh, maybe he should stop making TikToks with Noah Lobdell and actually focus on winning a ball game.
What do you think was the reason J.J. Starling had a mediocre performance, and do you think Kyan should be inserted into the starting lineup moving forward? Call us in at 315-443-2011. The double overtime until 1 a.m. Got 20 more minutes with you. Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73. We're with our reporter, Sydney Chan, who was live at the Dome. J.J. Starling should start from here on out.
Because
no.
What do you mean?
Where's
what do you
your
mean?
evidence?
No. Because
No, absolutely not.
Okay. What was so bad about JJ's performance other
I don't
than
think. Okay, I don't
He
think.
didn't score a bucket till the 6-minute mark.
But
They
it's
pulled
also-
him out
it's
of the game
not-
3
it's
minutes
also
and 30
Can we
seconds
not act
into
like
it.
Kyan Anthony was some miracle that was just
Maybe he should have
placed
started.
down on us?
Well, let's
Kyan Anthony had 7 points and was 2 for 9 from the field.
He hit it when it mattered, though. He hit that three-pointer when it mattered.
A plus minus of -3. JJ Starling plus minus of +6. And we're
Does
acting.
the plus minus show you how well you play in the crucial moments when the momentum's on you and the lights are on?
Well, Kyan Anthony wasn't in at the crucial moment, so
Oh, he
we're
should
not
have
going to
been.
know, Dan. But JJ Starling.
I wish there was a stat for that.
Well, the stat I'm going off of is that Kyan was a negative contributor to this game, and JJ Starling was a positive contributor in this game. And that's what
Positive
the plus minus
at
says.
points
Okay,
where it really
but
didn't
also,
matter.
we all know that stats don't tell the full story, right?
I like that.
And
Stats don't
JJ
tell the
wasn't
full
good enough
story.
today. I get that. but-
Yeah, and you're doing it based off of the stats. So let me tell you, because you weren't at the game, I was.
Boom.
I watched them play.
Get in there. Yeah,
you know?
totally. Go for it.
And Kyan gets out. He's aggressive all the time. Maybe he doesn't make every single
1
shot.
for 7
but
in the first half,
Hey, let me
Sydney.
talk.
1 for
Let me talk.
7.
Hold on. He gets into the paint all the time. He's bodying people all the time. He honestly was lucky that he didn't get fouled out because of how aggressive the refs were on Sneak White and everybody else. But hey, he has the right mentality. Coach Autry keeps saying how hard of a worker he is. He knows what he needs to do, and he knows what he needs to do moving forward. I honestly think that maybe let's see what JJ does against Houston. Maybe versus Kansas, he will start. But I honestly think that Kyan has more than proved himself to earn that starting role, at least heading into the next game, because he has the right mentality. I think
Drew,
JJ
why
was
not let him
slow.
ride it till he loses it? Why not give him the starting spot till he puts up the goose egg?
Yeah.
He put up 7 points
He
today,
did not
guys.
start the game.
Great.
And
okay.
it shows you also,
Kyan Anthony.
Autry put him in the game 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the
But
game.
we're acting
They
like
clearly
JJ
did
Starling.
not trust JJ. They pulled him out of there immediately.
JJ had 0 turnovers today.
Look at the way the offense operated against
JJ
Drexel.
was 4 for 6
Look at the
from
way
the
they played
field.
against Drexel compared to today. The reason they played good against Drexel was because Kyan was gelling
give me a
with
break.
Donnie.
Kyan Anthony was the only
Who
reason
led the
why.
team in scoring in that game?
Oh, come on.
Kyan did.
Kyan played as much as JJ today. And the stat line was worse for Kyan. And stats, mats, I get all that. But Kyan Anthony did not play good today. So let's stop acting like he did.
4 fewer points, but more attempts. And honestly, I do understand that, the percentage is not there. The completion
JJ
percentage is
averaged
not there.
18 points
but let's
last
talk
year.
about the
And we're acting like he's some chump change. JJ Starling is going to be the reason Syracuse makes a run if they make a run, period. He's a senior in college basketball.
because you're a senior
Veteran
doesn't mean
leadership
anything.
If
wins
he's not playing
games.
good, send him
Take
to the
him out.
bench.
Kyan Anthony didn't play good. Oh, come on. What are we doing here, guys? Kyan Anthony versus JJ Starling. The argument of the night as Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73. Call us in at 315-443-2011. We got 17 more minutes with you here on the double overtime. It's flown by. A nail biter
because we just
in
keep
the dome.
arguing about Kyan and JJ.
All right, so let's move.
Clearly, you don't want to budge on
Let's move
this.
the conversation a little bit then, because I'm
Sure.
clearly outnumbered and I'm getting a little
'Cause
scared.
you're wrong.
Right, of course.
Right.
Sydney,
Agreed.
any positives?
Any positives? I mean, I think what Kyan was mentioning was super helpful, and it was that they finally got this test and drawback down to earth, because you play
Test?
these
Monmouth.
hold on. You play these first 3 games and you're thinking that life is all good and dandy, and then you come back home, you play Monmouth, which again is, yes, a mid-tier D1 school, and you realize that maybe you
Mid-tier,
aren't
their
as good as you
basement.
thought.
They are awful.
Maybe you aren't as good as you thought. And I think that this was really the set down to earth that Syracuse really needed.
This should not have been the set down to earth.
All I'm saying is that it was.
By any stretch of
Drew
the
asked
mean.
me if I saw any positives, and this is what I saw.
Did you? Kyan clearly didn't list any positives. He said this is the drawback down to earth.
It's a
That's not a positive thing.
It is a positive
No,
because then you realize what you need to do. You realize what your expectations should be. Because not saying that this was Kyan specifically. Who knows which players were more complacent during the walkthrough?
The expectation should be to do
Was
what you
Nathan-
did every single game to start the year.
Okay, but let's at least take something from this game.
No,
or else you want to
there's
say that they're
nothing
going
to take
get
from
sent
it. Why are you
hell
going to
when they
force
get
to
Las
take
Vegas?
something
Was
from
Nathan
it?
George a
No
positive?
reason.
Was Nathan George a positive today? I feel we can agree on that.
I can agree
Okay,
on that one.
Thank
with
you.
I
12
thought the Nates
points.
in general were great.
The Nates were great.
Nates were great.
Let's
Nates
give
were
the
great.
stat lines really
The
quick.
Nates were
Nate
great.
King's 15 points. Nathan George 12 points. Both shoot 50% or over from the field. Both had a solid night. So if you want to draw on some positives, there you go. But we all agree
Boo-hoo.
a lot of our negatives. Dan is definitely.
Did it take you guys this long to get there to talk about positives?
Yes.
Yes.
Because there is not very many positives at all. 15 points and 12 should not be positives for you. Who cares? It's Monmouth. No, everybody should be putting up 15 and 12.
So, Sydney, you missed earlier in the show where we
tell me.
had Drew from New Hartford,
Ooh, Drew.
who was the most sound the alarm fan I think I've
And
ever
he was
heard
right.
in my entire
I was
life.
with him.
And then the very next caller was Michael from Manlius.
Yeah.
And completely opposite spectrum. And I rose the point. Can a fan at this point know what the Syracuse basketball team is? I think you can't. I think it's impossible to know what this team is right now because they've shown you such a variance in level of play. After 3-0 to start the season, you beat Monmouth by 5. Can you put a dart into this team? Shout out Dart, the football team. You can definitely put a dart into that. Definitely
Let's
down.
not talk
Yeah,
SC
let's
football.
not
Stay
bring
away from
more-
that.
Call us in at 315-443-2011. We're on air for another 14 minutes. So, Sydney, can you put, attack into this team?
Heading into this game, I thought Syracuse's identity was pretty clear. Dan, you and I were both in Philly. We saw how many fast break points they had. Syracuse scored 16 fast point breaks compared to Drexel's 3 the weekend before, 16 to Delaware State, and then also 21 against Binghamton to Binghamton's only 3. So when I was heading into this game, I was thinking, okay, great. Syracuse's identity is to run. Coach
I
Austria
think
wants them to
Syracuse's
play
identity
quickly,
is
but that's
defense
not it anymore.
and was defense heading
Well,
into this game.
I don't think so.
They let up their least amount of points since 1949.
Yeah, and I think
through their first 3
Yeah,
games.
and I think having good defense sure has
That's
a
the
big
identity
role
of the team.
in moving
That's never
quickly.
happened in 70 years. How is that not the identity of the team coming
Well, do
into
you
this
think it's
game?
the identity
They
now
got
anymore? I don't
completely
think so.
exposed.
Do you think it's fair to give an identity to a team after 3 games, though, Dan?
No, but if you're going to ask what is the identity through 3 games, I think the common answer there would be defense. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think you would agree with that too.
Agreed. And Coach Adrian Autry said that after the last game against
He said
Drexel.
defense
that the
turns
difference
us
between
into offense, and tonight defense didn't happen.
And the difference
thus
between
they had no offense.
The difference between good and great teams are defense. Completely agree with
Sydney,
you.
you also did talk in your pregame video about the defense, and now you're
I
telling
did,
me too.
but
Which
I
you can
wasn't
follow at
impressed.
WAER
But I
Sports
wasn't
that it
impressed.
wasn't.
Twitter.
You did not talk about fast break points in that pregame video.
So?
I'm just saying you're contradicting yourself a little bit.
I'm
here.
not contradicting myself because these things
Seems
don't
a little bit
contradict.
hypocritical.
They're complementary. When you have good defense, you have fast break points.
Can I mention something?
See, you
that-
agree.
Can I mention
You
something?
rebound and you have good defense, and then you make fast break points, and that's how you score. That's
strong-
how your defense turns into offense.
I strongly advise everybody to go on YouTube right now at WAER Sports Talk and just see the looks that Sydney is giving Dan, because over the radio,
Okay, well,
you
Dan is,
cannot
like,
hear it
dancing,
on justice.
thinking
it
that-
does not give it justice.
I mean, I don't know how you don't say defense is the identity of a team who had the top scoring defense in the
But
country.
Dan, it was 3 games.
But Drew, you
So,
and I were talking
it
about
was
how
the
impressive
identity.
that was. Coming into
Yeah,
this game,
it was
what is
impressive.
Syracuse's identity? It's defense, and defense
Defense
wins
wins
them games.
championships.
Defense wins championships. Under 50 points, the whole shebang. That is not the identity of this team anymore. That's for sure.
Well, you know that
Right.
defense was one of them, but another one that Coach Adrian Autry and really everyone was talking about was how deep this team is. How can the bench get involved? And we haven't touched on this once tonight, which I think is a shame, as Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73 to improve to 4-0. First time since 2017, by the way. But Syracuse, just 15 bench points. 15. That's not going to cut it for a squad that Adrian Autry said he's going to play 9, 10, 11 guys down the stretch.
Yeah, you and I were in Philly.
Yeah.
It seemed like the juicing station was non-existent.
Yeah, what happened to the
What
juicing
happened to the juicing station?
Juicing station. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It was kind of, I guess the vibes were off today. I think maybe Noah Lobdell wasn't as hyped. Maybe he was a little tired. Maybe he didn't have the amount of energy that he needed to lead the bench.
He did look a little
in the
sleepy in his
juicing.
sweatpants on the end of the bench.
A little bit. I don't know. Yeah, like when we first found out about the juicing station last weekend, we were all kind of, I mean, at least I was kind of laughing about it because I thought it was a joke.
But it did seem like they provided a lot of energy.
It
Sure,
does,
they weren't filling up the stat sheet, but it just seemed like that energy
No
was
energy
gone
tonight.
Not today. And again, I think it does come back to the fact that maybe the players' perspective was just off. And I'm not saying that this is something that should have happened. I'm just saying that it's something that did. I think their expectations of what this team could be was way lower than what they actually were because the Hawks came out storming. They were ready, and they were throwing amazing threes, beautiful threes. I was like, wow, these are gorgeous. I was kind of mesmerized. Well, the funny part was that their threes were either like absolute swishes or like completely off a cliff. But when they were making them, and they were being physical, and they were throwing the ball, and they were dancing around Syracuse, and they just didn't have enough time to prepare. Those timeouts weren't enough to prepare and reset, and that's why it was a 3-point game heading to the half. But unlike last weekend with Drexel, they couldn't get their momentum back, and they couldn't figure it out.
They pulled away, but then it just felt like it fell apart after like the 5-minute mark left to go in the entire game.
Yeah, they were leading
by
by 11 with 2 minutes left.
And then for some reason, I really think the free throw shooting was the reason why it just catapulted downhill.
No, it was because, again, a whole of the whistles blown were insane. The fans behind me were screaming, "Ref, you suck. Ref, what are you doing?
Where
Ref,
were you sitting,
gonna-"
Sydney?
I was sitting right at, like, center court, right behind it, with a bunch of fans behind me shouting, like, "Ref, are you going to put your whistle in your mouth? Like, what's happening?" And when the ref
I'm sure there was a few
did,
expletives you can't necessarily share on air, but we can all
I
imagine
I
at
would
home.
say related to like some recent news that had happened in the NBA, you know, like people were talking about that as well.
Wow.
But
that's Sydney, I am
yeah.
wondering here before we let you go, did Autry say anything about the Players Era tournament? Any of the guys in the locker room heading out to Vegas, the challenge of Houston, anything along those lines?
Autry didn't mention it too much. He mainly just said that JJ was going to work on his shooting, that it was his first game back, and that he played fine being here for the first time in 2 games. In terms of the actual players, yeah, Kine was really excited about getting to go to Vegas and having more of a big energy there, but he said that his preparation isn't really going to change. He was going to make sure that he stays focused, has a good mentality, work on his free throws. But he said that their biggest strength heading into these top teams is, yes, those top teams maybe have stronger defenses, maybe make more threes, but he thinks their team is really gelled together well. And like you mentioned, they have a deep bench, but they're still all very much together and they play complementarily together. And Kine thinks that that's one of their biggest strengths that they definitely should harness on.
Not complimentary tonight, though.
Not complimentary tonight, but,
5-point
win. Forward thinking. We're going to try and be positive heading into Vegas, you know?
Sydney, what's your, real quick before I let you go, versus Houston, any chance?
No.
Okay. All right, Syracuse, according to Sydney, and I totally agree with you.
I think we're all in agreement.
I referenced the 100-side dice. I think Syracuse might have like one side of that dice.
Maybe they'll get some Vegas magic on their side.
It's about the same odds of going to Vegas and leaving with money.
That is true.
The same Syracuse has versus Houston. Thanks so much, Sydney. Really do appreciate you coming on. You know, you were in the dome, brought a lot of insight to Syracuse beating Monmouth 78-73. A real close contest, Dan, and that brings us to our final words. And boy, I'm excited to get into mine. But first off, what do you have? What is your big thought after this narrow 5-point win for Syracuse?
My final word here for Syracuse is that they are going to get swept in Vegas, and we are going to be in the exact same spot that we were last year with this team, following when they played in the UKG Legends Classic in Brooklyn against Texas Tech and Texas, where they got swept in that one as well. I simply don't think that you can drop this game and think that everything is going to go swimmingly in Vegas. This was supposed to be the step up for you, where you had so much momentum riding into this tournament. You had the top scoring defense in the country. You're about to go play Houston really hard. but it seems like that's all just fallen by the wayside. I think that this is too short of a turnaround here for this team to really lock in and play that same brand of basketball that they had in the first 3 games. I think that this squad could very well end up in the same position that it was last year, struggling against these non-conference teams, just waiting to get to ACC play, which again is going to disappoint this fan base, and I think this is just the start of it.
So you're very concerned.
I am very concerned about this team.
More concerned than last year at this point?
Less concerned than last year, but however, like I was just talking about, I think that this could easily snowball to the point it was at last year.
Houston, Kansas, to be named opponent, Tennessee, and then you bounce back St. Joseph's in mid-December, and you got a little run there before the ACC. Dan, you could be right. You know, there hasn't been a Youngstown State double overtime type of game yet, but this was real close to it, and that brings me to my final word. Don't sound the alarms, but have the fire department on standby, because this was way too close for comfort. Maybe there's a little flame brewing downstairs. Someone left the oven on, and maybe you don't sound the alarms quite yet because you're still in that phase where you can swoosh it out and you can get the water bucket ready. But get the fire department on standby, because this Syracuse team last year showed signs early on. Through 3 games for the Orange, 3-0, but tonight against Monmouth, an absolute failure. Other than you do get the W, but a 5-point win over Monmouth for a Syracuse basketball team that has aspirations to play in March cannot happen. 3 words, cannot happen. It's disappointing, and Syracuse needs to turn it around. I still think there's time. I do. I'm in the middle of the spectrum. This Syracuse team could still show me something where maybe even in a couple of weeks, if something goes right down in Vegas, which it very well could, I don't think it will. It could happen. It's sports. Syracuse almost lost to Monmouth. Anything can happen. If Syracuse figures out a way, they're not beating Houston, but if Syracuse figures out a way to beat a Kansas, to beat whoever they play on Thanksgiving, maybe it's a Thanksgiving miracle, this Syracuse team could still show me something. So don't sound the fire alarms quite yet, but do have the fire department on ready. That's my final word. Syracuse beats Monmouth 78-73 in a tight one. Dan, we're running out of time here, but let's talk Houston really quick. We mentioned how there's no chance whatsoever. If there was a chance, do you think Syracuse's defense or the offense is going to be more important?
Has to be defense for this team. If you look at what's worked, it's been defense to offense throughout the first 3 games. Obviously, tonight was not that. Defense is the key. They can play really strong defensively. I think that is the key for them. However, if they get exposed and miss their free throws like they did tonight, that will not be a game against Houston.
Offensively, on the other side, this Houston team is really, really good defensive.
Talk about a defensive challenge.
And Kelvin Sampson has had that Cougar squad rolling for a few years now, and that defense could hold the Syracuse team to under 50 points. I don't know if that's crazy.
Do a little reverse on them.
Right. My final score prediction real quick, I'm going to give me Houston 90, Syracuse 65. Not close.
83-62. Cougars.
Well, the score in tonight's game was way too close for comfort in the Dome. Syracuse does improve to 4-0 for the first time since 2017, but it was via a 78-73 win over Monmouth. Yes, that's right. The Monmouth Hawks, a team Syracuse should not be beating by 5. It's been a lot of fun, Dan. A quick thank yous to our producer, Max Gifford, our engineer, Andrew Della Piana, our reporter, Sydney Chan, who came on the show, gave us lots of insight. Our desk, Daniel Herzog, Cole Purvis, and Josh Rothert doing everything behind the scenes. Dan, anything you got for us before we head off?
Syracuse football next up, and we'll have all that coverage for you here on the dot. Syracuse takes on number 9 Notre Dame. Game time 3:30. McClurg till 3.
All right, everybody, it's the double overtime. Drew Alba and Dan Shalom signing off and saying sleep tight, a late one here at the WAER studios.